Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Real-Time Enterprise channel on VANTIQ TV, our video and podcast series of interviews with thought leaders and practitioners in digital transformation and the real-time enterprise. My name is Blaine Matthew, and I'm Chief Marketing and Product Officer at VANTIQ. Note that you can reach either myself or the guest by sending a note to realtime@vantic.com, and we will be more than happy to follow up. Joining me today is Will Lassalle, Chief Information Officer at cybersecurity company Lynx Technology Partners. Will was formerly head of consulting firm Lynx Technology USA. He's also on the board of directors of the Society for Information Management and a fellow at the Institute for Digital Transformation. And he is also an advisor to multiple startups. Thanks, Will. I think we're going to have a great conversation today.
Thanks, Blaine. Thanks for having me.
You bet. That was quite a mouthful, all of your titles and companies. I almost didn't make it through, but I managed to get to the end. So obviously you got a lot of great experience and we want to hear all about it.
Thanks. I'm excited, Blaine. Thank you very much for having me. So
the first thing I want to talk about is at the top of your LinkedIn profile, it says, you are known for creating order from chaos. What does that mean? Like, what is that? That must mean something to you. You must have seen a lot of chaos in your experience as a consulting CIO and in other roles.
You know, definitely, Blaine, right? No one ever calls me throughout my career coming up, right? And tells me, man, Will, you know what? I made 100 phone calls. I sent, 30 emails yesterday. Everything worked without a hitch, right? Everyone always calls me. And things are down, or hell is breaking loose. I lost out on $1 million deal. It was in my outbox. I couldn't, log in here. I couldn't log in there. It's always been like that. And it's just magnified, right? You get people saying, we've had a disaster. We need to recover. We've had so much of our intellectual properties on there. So bringing order to chaos means, usually I'm called in, I'm calm, collected, and I got to figure it out. And get it fixed, right? And at the end of the day, it becomes Vini Vidi Vici, right? In my eyes, I love being able to come into that chaos, bring order to it, and then move on to the next fun challenge. So I'm kind of weird in that sense where I love bringing order to the chaos, but then I get bored real quick and I got to get to the next mess to fix up.
Sounds good. So how did you get to where you are today? What's your backstory?
Sure. So, my backstory is I fell in love with computers at a young age. If not, I'd be a surgeon right now, doing surgeries. But once my dad bought me a computer, age 11, 12 years old, I fell in love with computers and I've just been doing technology ever since. The great thing is I work in what I love. So it's not really work. So all day, every day, even when I'm not doing something that is quote unquote billable or for an organization, I'm doing fun projects with my kids and kind of living vicariously through them with cool STEM projects and stuff like that. So that's what kind of having that love for technology and also just having the love for constant learning, right? Lifelong learning. I have numerous degrees, numerous certifications, but it's all a byproduct of like a stamp on the knowledge and that journey of knowledge. And that journey comes from just having the love for technology. So that's taken me progressively through my career where I've been able to kind of be a subject matter expert and deal with a lot of the past technologies and a lot of the future, technologies.
Very interesting. Well, thank you. And sort of related to that lifelong learning you were just talking about, you actually recently wrote or published an article on the Real-Time Enterprise blog talking about how CIOs need to transform or perish. What's the core thesis you had in that article?
Yeah, that was a great one. It was just from a standpoint of seeing all too much where you have keep the lights on CIOs, right? And the I in CIO, right, which is normally Chief Information Officer. You have some people say Chief Innovation Officer, right? You got to become innovative, right? You got to keep up with the Joneses, keep up with the trends and the technologies. And the reason I was saying transform or perish is you get people that stay in that mindset of keep the lights on. They want to, what I said earlier was I'm a Vini Vidi Vici kind of guy. I'm a, order to chaos. I need chaos. I need to create order, but then I get bored and I got to move on to the next challenge. You get, sometimes what you get is CIOs and executives that want to stop and smell the roses. And then, time and technology and the trends pass them by. You end up 2-3 years and wow, now you've got so much technical debt that it's hard. It's like quicksand. It's hard to get out of it. So the thought process around it is you got to transform. You got to transform the organization, the culture, and your mindset to be a mindset of digital, utilizing digital technologies, being able to be innovative, but being able to have the core foundation in the culture and in the organization to adapt to change as it presents itself, even in real time, to be able to adapt to that change. Otherwise, time is going to pass you by. I can get into numerous, I'm sure there's infographics that you'll see all over Twitter and everything like that, showing you Blockbuster or Yahoo or AOL, MySpace, and what kind of happened and the lessons learned. But pets.com, a long time I used to have a running joke, that I was with pets.com, I'm trying to say I bought my first goldfish from pets.com, right? Stuff like that. So a lot of people, it falls on, people forgot about pets.com and stuff like that. But then you have stories now like that are success stories that really it's like, man, that's what pets.com did in 99, 2000 with Chewy.com, Chewy, which I'm like, what's the difference, right? But Chewy did it better. Chewy did it at a time that they were able to be more agile, and at a time where they were successful and had a successful exit selling to PetSmart. So that's how I looked at it as, you got to transform, you got to, or you're going to die. You're going to end up like one of those aforementioned companies.
Absolutely. Well, I've got a surprise for you, actually. I've got a original pets.com sock puppet right here.
That's awesome. There definitely.
One of my little holdovers from the first .com boom. I actually had it sitting right next to me on my table. So when you brought up .com, I had
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Great stuff. Yeah, a lot of people don't remember that, but yeah, it was ahead of it. When you look at it, it's ahead of its time. When you see the success story behind Chewy that just exited, for $3 billion or something like that to PetSmart.
Yeah. All right. Well, you touched on a lot of topics there, I think, for us to dive in deeper. But fundamentally, a lot of what you talked about was digital transformation. First thing I just have to ask, you're a fellow at the Society for Digital Transformation. What does that mean?
Yeah. So basically, the Institute for Digital Transformation, it's an organization that it's like-minded experts like myself that have been through the trenches, right? That have been able to, that have done successful digital transformations, and they can share that knowledge with others. We speak on certain topics like that. What are the challenges? What's the challenges with people going from, for example, a traditional SDLC into going to an agile Scrum methodology? And a lot of it is, the way I look at it is standing on the shoulders of others, right? So I always love speaking to people and helping people when I attend events or when I'm mentoring people, and kind of having them live through my experiences, right? So, hey, this is the challenges, this is the pain points, this is what we experience. So the Institute really just helps people along that journey. Basically, it's saying, hey, we've been there, we've done that, we got the t-shirts or whatever like that, but we're able to assist and help you with the mindset, because there's different ways to skin the cat, right? But and also I just think that I finished my MBA about 10 years ago, and there's just things. I got a PMP 10 years ago as well, and there's just things within both of those. My MBA is in project management, my PMP 10 years ago. In neither one of those two did I learn Agile or Scrum. I had to learn it after the fact. I had to go get a certified Scrum Master certification, read on it. So again, going back to what I said earlier, lifelong learning. But it ends up being that, wow, you figure I got a degree 10 years ago. So imagine someone that got it 20 years ago or 30 years ago. You got to keep up with that. But if you can go to a repository where you can learn, where you can sit there and you can learn from other people and read articles, now all of a sudden you can get that concentrated knowledge. And I think it just at the end is in the betterment and to help better execute and deliver on transformation initiatives.
So it sounds like, the fundamental notion of the Society for Digital Transformation and a good concept generally is this is not about reinventing the wheel. This is about building on the learning and experience of folks that have been doing these kind of transformational projects for years. We think of digital transformation as being, mostly about the new thing or something highly innovative, and it could be. Yep. But that's not to say there isn't a lot of experience, of other people who've done similar things or related things that you can build on top of.
Exactly, Lane. Yep.
Yeah, interesting. Let's see. So obviously companies are, everybody's talking about digital transformation these days. I think to some degree it's an overused term. How do you think in general, in your experience, companies are doing on that path toward transformation? Is it still mostly about keeping the lights on and maybe doing infrastructure transformation, moving to the cloud? Or are companies actually changing fundamentally how they operate? What are you seeing, or what are you feeling out there?
It's a combination of what you mentioned, as well as some of the other seeing the forest for the trees, right? So it's a combination of, you got some people that say, man, we want to move off of infrastructure, on-premises infrastructure and go to the cloud, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a services, microservices, software as a service, etc. And they think, okay, that's digital transformation, and that's one part of it, right? But for some of them, it also has to be, you got organizations. I worked at an organization that they had a platform that was created to drive healthy habits, right? To drive healthy habits, to lower healthcare costs by having people. But what they didn't know is that, data is the new gold. So all this data they had from this platform, where now people were sitting there and getting their diabetes checked, losing weight, smoke cessation, and all this data that they had with demographics and everything, if they could just de-identify that data that's in our data warehouse, right, that's utilizing its purpose, now all of a sudden, this is another revenue stream, right? So now you're looking at digital technology. We just happen to be a company that we wanted to drive. We saw rising costs in healthcare. We wanted to drive those costs down. Now all of a sudden, we got data that can help, right? That can help identify demographics, help identify and not only bring down healthcare costs, but health companies that are doing research into seeing trends, into seeing what's working. And there's other examples of that. So I think digital transformation also needs to take into account where the market's going, what the trends are, how that technology can help organizations evolve, even what their base product is, and transform the company itself.
Yeah. Now, since it as we've just been discussing, it's as much about business model transformation as it is about a technology transformation. Who do you think should fundamentally own digital transformation initiatives in organizations? Obviously, you're coming, your background as a CIO, at multiple companies, and a CIO for hire puts you sort of on the IT side. But there are a lot of people are saying, well, but fundamentally DX needs to be driven on the operations side or the LOB side, line of business side. What do you think about this question about digital transformation, IT or OT?
Yeah, no, and it's a great question, Blaine, right? And, normally you would have someone that would come here and be completely biased, right? And I am to an extent. I believe every company is a technology company and, stuff like that. But when it comes to owning digital transformation, right, to me, the best qualified team to deliver the results successfully should own it, right? So depending on the organization, if you got a kick-ass, I know CIOs, and my mentor, he did not come from an IT background, right? I came up through an IT background, right? I fell in love with computers, everything. He came from the business, and he's great. And with all my education, I even have a master's certificate. With all my education, the best, I tell everyone, the best education I got is my 1 hour a month, calls with my mentor, Frank Wander. And it's because I would get the concentrated version. I would talk to him about a challenge, and he'd be able to tell me, oh, Will, that's simple. It's this, 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 or here's what you do. And I just sit there and my jaw would drop each time. I'm like, wow, I went through all these use cases, business cases in business school, and none of it has prepared me as much for this, for what Frank's telling me from real world examples. So to me personally, it's whoever has the capability of being a leader, being able to take it by the reins and lead that effort, right? And can get, the teams to believe in that vision. That should be the best person, whether that person comes from IT or from the business, fine, because at the end, the intersection between business and IT, it blurs the line. And again, if you go back to my first thing, where every company is a technology company, then the IT is part of the business, right? It's not just a, servant to the business. It is part of the business. And in a lot of cases, you're starting to see CIOs. I got good buddies of mine that were CIOs that are now chief customer officers, CEOs of companies that are not necessarily technology companies, right? But they could be telecommunications companies, and now they're CEOs. And that's because technology is part of the business now and a fundamental part of it.
Very interesting, really interesting. So you talked a lot about agility a couple of minutes ago, and you talked about Agile, Scrum, and some of the the technical ways of literally becoming sort of a capital A Agile company. Is that really? Do you think is that the core to agility, or is there more to it than that?
I think with agility, I like saying learn quickly. And you see, like I was saying earlier, lifelong learning, and I like saying learn quickly. A lot of people say fail quickly, right? Or have a short memory. I like saying learn because I don't think it's ever failure. I'm one of those guys like, hey, he has a record of 32 wins and 32 W's, 2 L's, and the 2 L's are lessons, right? I don't say losses, right? Lessons, and that's what I think, right? As long as someone for companies to sit there and increase their agility and they have to be able to learn quickly. They have to be able to embrace and foster a culture of idea sharing and not be afraid to fail, right? Or learn quickly, right? Not to be afraid of it, because there's so many examples that you can go through, right? And you see all these motivational infographics all over the web of, oh, you miss every shot you don't take, right? And too many people are fearful. And I just think that as long as you're able to learn quickly, and try it, you have a lot of companies that do it. Years ago, I was one of the testers for Google Glass, right? So I had Google Glass and everything, and Google wasn't afraid to come out with that, to challenge that, and then to sit there and say, hey, look, we got to bring it back. We got to bring it back in house, do whatever, live to play another day, whatever, and reevaluate it. But again, they weren't afraid to challenge it, to come out with it. It could have taken off, and there would have been millions of people as opposed to the initial 8,000 or whatever that had Google Glass. But they weren't afraid to take that challenge. And Apple's another company that does the same thing, right? I mean, I remember the iPad and the iPad launch and everybody making fun of the name, right? Alone, think about it, iPad. And at that time, and now it's like second nature to people, right? They all have iPads, and I can't wait for the new one to come out, et cetera, et cetera. So you got to be able to kind of, because remember, they also came out with the Apple Newton years ago as well, right? And that failed miserably.
That's absolutely right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah. So one of my favorite parts of these interviews is when I get to ask a guest about what part of sort of conventional wisdom they would like to call bullshit on any particular area where, most people are saying X and you're saying Y. Yeah.
Oh, definitely. And this is just a rant for me. And even recently, I kind of tweeted about it, a couple of days ago, I think. So it's fresh in my mind. And it's just really, it's SMEs, subject matter expertise or subject matter experts, right? The expertise aspect, I've been in environments, I've attended events where somebody's a security expert or a cloud expert or a panel full of RPA experts. And they're speaking on things, and it's like, okay, you're speaking on a panel about RPA and you're an executive recruiter. What do you possibly know about robotics, robotic process automation? What do you know about artificial intelligence? I know people that are speculative in the Bitcoin market, and then they'll turn around and they'll talk about blockchain, right? So what do you know about, blockchain? What do you know about this stuff? Except that you're investing. So you look into the research, you spend an hour a day. So now all of a sudden you're a subject matter expert. And I'm someone that, I've seen social media experts or SEO experts with 200 followers on Twitter. And it's like, well, if you're an expert, right, then I must be a super duper expert or something like that. So that's kind of like my pet peeve or rant, where I call bullshit, because who knighted these people as SMEs? Is it just them calling themselves? And, I've always said, and I always tell people, I should be from Missouri. I'm originally from New Jersey. I should be from Missouri because you got to show me, right? Like the only way I'm going to believe you is, hey, show me that you're an expert. So you say you're a cloud expert. Show me how you've migrated workloads into the cloud, right? Don't just tell me that I should be migrating it. I got to keep up with this. Don't give me an infographic. Don't give me percentages, everything like that. Because hey, I can Google that myself. I love reading. I can read these articles myself. So that's kind of the thing that's always been for me is who knights these people as SMEs? Are they just knighting themselves? Why should I trust them?
Yeah.
And I get that all the time, all day, every day in events, on Twitter, people pinging me about opportunities and stuff like that. And it just ends up being who made you an SME,
Right.
Stuff like that. So.
Yeah. Well, no, I absolutely agree with the core point. And I think blockchain is absolutely the worst I've ever seen in that regard. Because as you say, cryptocurrency has sort of ruined blockchain. It moved, the discussion out of being about a core technology, which is quite interesting.
Exactly.
Wide range of applicability, and is now all about a speculative investment environment. And I think the general public can't really separate the two.
Exactly.
And the whole domain is just full of these SMEs, as you say, who are all looking for big, expensive consulting contracts to help companies figure out their blockchain strategy. And, I've never seen anything like it, actually. You're right. AI, some of the other technologies, cloud, they went through some of that to a certain degree, but nothing to the extent of blockchain. And I think because it's tied to cryptocurrency and the whole investment and money side, it attracted the SMEs like flies to, rancid meat, right? Just unbelievable. So I think that's a good observation. I don't know if that's a contrary opinion. I think most people would agree with you on that point, but I think a well-made point. So to wrap it up, Will, any key takeaways or tips for business leaders, maybe in particular, who are trying to figure out how to drive transformation in their business?
Oh, definitely. Key takeaways and tips for business leaders trying to drive digital transformation is to really have an understanding of their core business, the people, process, and technology, and what the impact of the digital transformation journey will be, right? Expect the unexpected, plan. One of the biggest cliches I always use, and my wife beats me up about it, is measure twice, cut once. Baseline, rebaseline. But one of the biggest things is, 90 days post-implementation is gauge the impact of the digital transformation, right? The benefits realization, right? What you wanted when you started the journey, what was it that you were trying to accomplish? 90 days post-implementation, did you accomplish that? And rinse and repeat, because depending on the time in your digital transformation, new technologies may have come out, or new threats if you're looking at it and doing a kind of a SWOT analysis to deal with it, right? So it's kind of remeasuring it and reinvesting. The great thing is like what we discussed earlier with the agility aspect, right? Change is good. So if you got to change mid-flight, if you completed it, and all of a sudden you say, oops, there's this new technology, we're going to go over here. It's okay to sit there and do it over. What's not okay is tying it with a nice bow to the article I did. What is not okay is not to have this culture, because eventually if you just sit by, and I think there's an infographic about it, if you sit back, then obsolescence will kick in, right? So you're gonna sit back and you're gonna be that Blockbuster. You know what I'm trying to say? You're gonna be that Yahoo that just made all the wrong choices along the way, because you thought, hey, there's no threat. One thing that Gary Vee, and I'll leave it at here, he says is, wake up every day, thinking that you're trying to being scared of your competitors, right? And I think if people adopt that kind of mindset, that there's somebody out there that's hungrier, there's some company out there that's trying to eat your lunch, right? That's trying to disrupt you. If you can adopt that kind of mindset and that culture, I think it will lead you to be able to be innovative, to not be afraid to fail, to not sit on your laurels, and to really continue that. Because again, to me, digital transformation, it's not you want to go from A to B. It's a mindset. It's changing, and it's being able to see the forest for the trees, and being able to adapt, and adopt a mindset of real-time business strategy, real-time execution, and changing the strategy on the fly if need be.
Perfect. I think that's a good bit of wisdom there. Digital transformation is not about A to B. I think a lot of companies think about it as A to B. It is a mindset. Right on.
Yeah.
Very well said. Well, that wraps it, Will. Thanks so much for joining us today. Really insightful conversation. Those interested in hearing more of Will's thoughts can follow Will Lassalle on LinkedIn, and also follow W. Lassalle, Lassalle, on Twitter. And of course, you can reach out to me or VANTIQ anytime at realtime@vantic.com. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Blaine.
You're welcome. If you would like to subscribe to the podcast version of The Real-Time Enterprise, search for The Real-Time Enterprise on iTunes or SoundCloud. And if you are already listening to the podcast version of The Real-Time Enterprise, please leave a rating or comment and let us know how you are enjoying the show.